What is good people? You are now listening to another episode of At the Plate with Danny Foxworth. I am your humble narrator, Danny Foxworth, and once again, we're joined by an extremely special guest. He is one half of one of my favorite podcasts, the Baseless Banter Podcast. They put out new episodes every Thursday. I listened to them when I was at work today, man. Good stuff, especially when you got to the Clemson/Dabo stuff, man.
Clemson slander.
I was Birdman hand rubbing the whole time. Now, don't get it twisted. My problem ain't with Clemson. My problem was with Dabo. But aside from that, you know, he's originally from the DMV, you know, all wind me up Chuck and whatnot, and he's currently residing in the 704. Ladies and gentlemen, we got my man Todd, aka Todd Knows, from the Baseless Banter Podcast in the building. What's good, bro?
I switched it up, big brother Danny. I switched it up to I am Todd. Replace that O with a 0.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, man, it's good to be here, man. Good to join you. Behind the scenes, this is the first time we're meeting face to face. So
Yeah.
it's really cool to put a personality to the face. And just want to, before we start off, everything you're doing, fantastic. We're at the plate, and I was getting ready to say last time we talked, it would have been a big tank. It's better. It's better. But since we last spoke, man, everything you're doing is fantastic. I like how you bring a lot of people from the universe onto the pod and get to chop it up with them. So it's really enjoyable.
Greatly appreciate it, man. The feeling is mutual with the Baseless Banter Podcast, man. Seriously.
Appreciate it.
It's like as soon as Firestarter goes off, I'm like, oh, Baseless Banter just popped up in the queue. And I hit play and I press play.
That's my Thursday routine as well.
Yeah. Thursday. Yeah, Thursdays are my podcast Christmas, man. So let's get into it. The Baseless Banter Podcast. How did that come about?
It really started during the pandemic. Paul and I, my co-host Paul and I, we went to school at Georgia Southern. And I started out there my freshman year, and then I transferred to NC State afterwards. But we kept in contact a little bit, and then over the years we kind of fell out of contact. And during the pandemic, it was just kind of one of those things where you calling your people, and we reconnected. And at that time, he was doing a podcast with one of his other homeboys, and they couldn't really get the consistency down and things like that. And he kind of reached out to me, to see if he wanted to kind of get involved. And yeah, it's just kind of happened that way. And we 106 episodes as of today, and
Man.
A couple years later we're getting the hang of this thing.
Dope, man. So at what point when y'all started doing the podcast and you were just like, man, we got something here?
Really, man, the feeling, I feel like I'm kind of a guy that likes to think, I like to criticize, the process a little bit, do retrospectives and whatnot. And, I feel like we haven't gotten there yet, but like, I feel like things have started to click on all cylinders, probably about, I'd say episode like 50, you know what I mean? Probably like the midway point. We started to get our audio issues figured out somewhat. And, Paul still ain't learned how to use his mixer yet, but yeah, we started to get some of the little things ironed out, started to try to figure out what the format would be. I think a challenging thing, especially when you listen to a lot of podcasts, is that like, you don't want to kind of retread, topics. You want to kind of bring something a bit different, to the table. So, I take a Roderick Morrow type approach and researching a lot of these stories and, presenting them in the rundown for us to discuss and try to, really meet Paul where he is as well, right? With things that are interesting to him. Even though I play on the show sometimes about, the stuff that he likes, I tell him I don't care about it, but, really it's a good opportunity for both of us to get our interest out there on our platform. So it's still coming together, but, I think I'm proud of where we've gotten so far.
Dope, man. Make sure y'all check their podcast out. It's the Baseless Banter Podcast. They put out fresh new episodes every Thursday. Let's get into this baseball thing, man.
Woo-wee.
So what were some of your earliest baseball memories growing up in the DMV?
So I played Little League baseball starting in like third grade. Ended up North Springfield. Shout out to the Little League out there. And my uncle was my coach. And before I actually started playing baseball, my uncle's about 14, 15 years older than me, right? So he's kind of like a big brother thing. So I just ride around town with him all the time. And he used to play in a men's league I believe their team name was like the Zephyrs, right? Like, and that, when I was younger, I was like,
Yeah.
"What's a Zephyr?" You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
we didn't have Google, so I looked it up in the encyclopedia. But yeah, I mean, that's when I really started to get a love for the game, because he used to teach me how to keep score, and I would take the score for the game, for the men's league game.
Oh,
And this is probably when I'm like maybe 9, 10 years old. So, I developed a love for kind of looking at the game for what it was back then. Now playing, I played catcher, played second base, you know what I mean? It wasn't really a great hitter, but I focused a lot of my talents behind the plate, blocking balls and making sure that, we got alignment straight. But yeah, I played all the way up until like maybe eighth grade. And then, once I got into high school, it was singularly focused on football and track. So, grew up playing a lot of sports, but those are the ones that, kind of fell off, after a certain point.
okay. So, how did you become a Nats fan, being the Orioles were close by?
Well, that's the fun part too, and part of some of, kind of piggybacking off of your first question, right? Some of my earlier memories were going to Orioles games at Camden Yards, right? Like, I just remember distinctly going when like Brady Anderson was having that amazing year, and then when they traded for Mike Mussina, I went and saw a start as part of like it was like one of my uncle's company barbecues, and it just so happened Moose was starting. So I was like, oh, this is great. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
not realizing it in the time that I was watching like a Hall of Famer pitch. But yeah, so I grew up actually in a household with a bunch of Cardinals fans. My mom's side of the family's from St. Louis.
Okay.
And so I can remember Ozzie Smith doing backflips and them talking about some of those great teams in the 80s or whatever. But I like to always go against the grain. So I chose, because I watched a lot of WGN, I chose to be a Cubs fan. And I like to say I was loyal, you know what I mean, especially, from the time, probably like 11, 12 years old. I was a Cubs fan, really followed them. Even through the despair and the losing years, you got a glimmer of hope with that I can't remember the year, but the year Bartman interfered with the foul ball, right?
Yeah.
Like, you got your glimmers of hope, but that was probably as good as it got. Um and then I'd like to say maybe 2007, a couple years after the Nationals came back, I dropped my fandage and picked up the allegiance with the Nats. Just felt like I needed to change. You know what I mean? I needed a fresh start. So we started to follow them. I started to follow them, and just so happens the Cubs win the World Series like a couple years later. Which, I mean, okay, cool. But I waited until 2019 and we got one.
I was
So
about to say.
it's been a fun ride, especially like that 2012 to 2019 run. It was something cool. You got to anticipate a lot of success on the field.
So, who were some of your favorite Nats players?
Ooh boy. So I'll start this list by saying Zimmerman, number one, right? Like Ryan Zimmerman is Mr. National. He's the first guy drafted. He did it all in the Nationals uniform. And he's a classy dude. So, Ryan Zimmerman for sure is my favorite National. But I had a lot of fun, like favorite players that ended up playing for the Nats. Like, I mean, another National, I guess, is Levon Hernandez, from the earlier days. But when Alfonso came around, right? Like, I like all
Oh,
the
man,
faces,
I
you know.
forgot y'all had Soriano.
Yep. So that was special. And then of course, some of the guys from that 2012 to 2019 run, you got Straw, Scherzer, Denard Span, Howie Kendrick, even Gio Gonzalez, of course, Bryce, Ian Desmond, all those guys, like Jason Worth, all those guys made an imprint during that time, right? Like that 2012 in Washington D.C. was nuts, right? Like, you had RG3, you had the Nationals doing well. They were on the precipice of winning 100 games. You know what I mean? So there are a lot of fond memories from that time point, or
Yeah.
that time period. So I'd say a lot of those guys. And if I left out guys, it's blame my head, not my heart. that whole run was amazing.
Man, I was such a huge fan of Denard Span.
Yeah, that's my guy.
Yeah,
Mr. Twin.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where I remember him from. I think one of the first games I went to I went to a Kansas City Royals game when they played the Twins. And I want to say it was maybe 2009 or 2010. And it was cold as shit too, because it was when the season first started. Yep. And I remember when Denard Span was playing for them. I want to say he led off for them. I'm not exactly sure. But
probably.
But him and Gio Gonzalez was always one of my favorites too.
Yeah, I like Gio, the lefty boy.
Yeah.
Every other, you started out with Strauss and or at times, at a certain time, Scherzer, but you followed that up with Gio, couldn't miss.
Yeah.
It was a good 1-2 punch.
That man always found a way to keep the balls in play.
Yep.
Like nothing got past the infield.
Yep, he was wasting away in Oakland, and we went and scooped him up.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Sorry, Nick Jew.
Sorry, Nick Jew. So let's talk about the 2019 World Series run. What was that like for you?
Probably the most favorite time of my life. It was really fun. Especially, you got to consider during that first part of that season, they were under 500 until like midway through May, right? Yeah. And they just went on this miraculous run to end the season. And they were a wild card team. I think the way they played in the second half, I thought that team, if they would have put it together a little bit earlier, could have won 100 games that season. But be that as it may, it was a fantastic run. They went through some of the toughest. They went through the toughest in the National League to end up with the reward of the Houston Astros. So, I really had a fun time. That was, an amazing year. It was a good send off, so to speak, for Zimmerman, because he tried to come back the next year, but ended up retiring. So I thought that was a great send off for him. We got Juan Soto his first ring. Hopefully of many more. That's another guy I forgot to mention. One of my favorite Nationals. Although it was short, it was special. You got that guys like that, right? Trey Turner, guys that are still playing. Shout out to the Wolfpack, by the way. Good job, Trey. Good job, Trey.
He did his thing in the World Baseball Classic. I can't take that away from him.
He did. He's the new Captain America.
Yeah, he got that bread too. God
yes,
almighty.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Shout out to him.
But yeah, so it's unfortunate we couldn't do it with Bryce, but I understand. The Lerner family wasn't really trying to come up off the ducats, and they invested a lot of money now. During that run, they brought in big name free agents to try to get the race. I think the 2012 team I think had the best chance. The 2017 team, where they won like 98 games, had a really good chance. To really win a World Series. It just didn't pan out. So. The culmination of all that in 2019 really kind of put me over the top in my fandom. And ever since then, it's been despair. But
you got something out of it, though.
Hey, I got a parade out of it, baby.
Well, yeah, one day I'm going to feel that same experience. But
yes, sir.
We'll see. That remains to be seen. I think my favorite moment from y'all clinching the 2019 world title was I was listening to the Firestarter podcast, and they caught the final out while they were recording. And I remember just how jubilant Bassar was. Yeah, I mean, it was like a pregnant pause, and then he caught that final out. He said, he said, "Yeah, dog, we champs, young.
We champs, young." Shout out to Bob.
Yeah, shout out to Bob, man. I felt so happy for him, because I know he was going through it every time they did the baseball segment.
Man.
And he was just talking about how stressed out the Nats were making them, and then come to find out, it all worked out in the end.
Talk about going through it, though. How about K-Bads getting, his Orioles leading the division? Oh, like, crazy. Salute to that brother.
Dude, he deserves it, man, because there's been so many, not moments, so many years where when they get to the baseball segment and Tone's like, "So, K-Bad, what's up with your Orioles?" And he just had that patented K-Bad side. I just want to move on, yo. That baseball segment be short as shit. But yeah, shout out to K Bad too, man. Them O's, man, they're killing it.
Yep.
So now we're going to get into the 5-question segment. So,
oh, buddy,
the 5-question segment. The first and last question are the same question I ask every guest I have on here. Questions 2 through 4 are 100% random. So, first question: what were Todd's ideal school lunch items?
I prepared for this, and I want to let you know that I have 2 answers. I'm gonna cheat.
Okay.
I don't know if anyone's ever given you 2 answers. Maybe I think K-Bad did, but the first one is, of course, the square pizzas, sausage in particular.
Mm-hmm.
I went to school. There's a lot of Muslims in my school, so they weren't fucking with the sausage. So those were plentiful. So they would have some left over. I grabbed me an extra slice and the strawberry milk. I was set for the day, right? Mm-hmm. My stomach these days wouldn't be able to handle that. But that was my ideal lunch tray in elementary. But when I moved out to San Diego in middle school, we actually had Arby's a la carte. So get me a roast beef and cheddar young for lunch with a Sprite and a bag of them Fritos, the sweet and spicy joints.
Mm-hmm.
That was my ideal lunch in middle school, right? So yeah, I like to give 2 answers on that one.
Man, I hope Rod didn't listen to the last answer, because
Arby's gang.
He be banging on Arby's. Question number 2: when's the last time you cooked something and thought, man, this ain't hitting on nothing?
Oh boy, never. You know what I'm saying? I do my thing in the kitchen. You know what I mean? I just, I can tell you about a time where I had some. I gotta speak quiet. I had some mashed potatoes from somebody who should not be known. And they weren't really hitting for on nothing, you know what I'm saying? But for the most part, I'm a fat boy, so I enjoy pretty much anything that's put in front of me. And especially when I prepare it, I cook with love.
Word. You know what? I'm gonna put an addendum to that. So this is question 2A. What's your favorite place to eat in Charlotte?
Man, so I think Charlotte gets a bad rap for not being a food city. There are plenty of places that do good food. One of my favorites is like Duckworth's Tap and Grill. They just opened one near me in South Park, and they do a Philly cheesesteak that's, if Tone ever come down to Charlotte, I know he's been on a quest for a Philly cheesesteak. So if you listen to this, Tone, you come down to Charlotte, go to Duckworth's, get you a Philly cheesesteak. They got a couple different kinds, all kinds of cheesesteaks.
All kinds.
And yeah, I think that's probably my favorite place in Charlotte. But there's a number of them. Greg Collier, he's a Beard Award finalist. He has a brick and mortar spot they just opened up called Uptown Yoke. They used to be in the 7th Street station. Okay. As one of the little stands in there, but now they've expanded to add a brick and mortar Uptown Yoke. That's real good. If you listen to Rod's podcast, Easy Like Sunday is another place that's really good does really good brunch here in Charlotte. So yeah, man, Charlotte has a nice food scene. You just got to kind of sift through some of the flop a little bit. But yeah.
Again, shout out to Rod, man. He put me on the Cowfish.
Oh yeah, Cowfish is cool too. Yeah.
Cowfish, and shout out to 7th Street Market, man. Dog, Jimmy Pearls.
Ooh.
That's my go-to. I'll tear me up a fish sandwich down there. Question number 3. What's your favorite album so far this season?
So many good albums came out this year. I feel like it was an underrated year for hip hop. Things that stand out, I'd say probably Killer Mike's more recently. Really stood out to me as a really dope album. I'm really heavy into the new age boom bap. I really love the Griselda stuff, what they got going on. I wouldn't say this is a banner year for Griselda, but just kind of things that I listen to. Right now, the only thing that really stands out to me, as far as albums are concerned, and I'll probably kick myself later. But yeah, I think that Killer Mike is the last thing that kind of resonated with me. It's such a good album, well produced, and Killer Mike's a legend. Even though I don't necessarily agree with his political views, he's definitely talented and an artist, artiste, if you will.
I gotta go run that one back. I got halfway through it, and I just something else just caught my attention, and I didn't get back to it. So that's That's appointment listening for me.
For sure.
Question
and
number
30 and just shameless plug, 38 Special and Conway are releasing a joint tomorrow. So that might be my favorite album tomorrow. We don't know.
Really? Are you serious?
Yeah. Yeah, it's I forgot what it was called. But it's 38 Special and Conway dropping a joint a joint project. So
how did I not know that?
Yeah. Love it.
Ooh, yeah, that's a murderer's row right there.
Yes, sir.
Question number 4. Who's the most notable person that follows you on social media?
Danny Foxworth. What you mean, man? I'd probably say, I don't really got a bunch of followers. I'd probably say Rod follows me. Yeah, so that might be the most notable person. Look at what he's doing these days, right?
You're right.
Writing for Game Theory, writing for Drape the Maniacs, got a successful podcast. That man's living the American dream. You know what I mean? So, yeah, man, shout out to him. I've only met him once in person. I think it was just at like Infinity Wars at a movie, just him and Karen. Just
okay.
We happened to be in the same movie theater, but other than that, yeah, I don't know him personally, but definitely admire what he's doing from afar, and think he's doing some excellent stuff.
100%. I'm looking forward to meeting him on Saturday.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And last question: what was the last thing that really made you laugh?
Hey man, I'm gonna do a shameless plug. All right, so maybe it was within the first 10 episodes of our podcast, Paul tells a story about how he tried to play basketball and he thought he tore his ACL. It's probably the funniest thing I've laughed at in a long time. That's the thing that stands out to me. If you go back through the archives, it was one of our earlier episodes. We started with a cold open usually. Actually, I think it might have been the episode we started with a cold open for the first time, and yeah, he tells a story about him trying to play basketball. He's a famously injury prone individual. He walks outside his house and he could just keel over with a rolled ankle at any moment's notice. So yeah, that's probably the funniest thing I've had to laugh at in a long time.
Yeah, so he had that K-Bag Glenarden Giddyup moment.
Hey man, he had that giddy up.
Shout out to Gooch. So if there's anything you want to plug or promote, the floor is yours.
Man, just Baseless Banter Podcast, like Danny say, we try to release on Thursdays when we can. Paul has a newborn, so our schedule is a little in flux, but we try to be consistent and drop every week, notably on Thursdays, and you can get that anywhere you listen to podcasts. I just learned that myself, so anywhere you can get it. And you can follow me on Twitter or X as they call it, at I am Todd. You can replace that O with a 0. I'm there. I'm not begging for followers, but follow your boy. I only got 65 followers, so I guess I am begging for followers, right? Come holler at me. But yeah, and then my co-host Paul, you can follow him at Life of Fat Pablo. He's on Twitter as well. He's usually just retweeting Steelers fan accounts, so he's not very interesting on Twitter. But listen to our podcast. We have a good time.
Where? So who's your NFL team?
I'm a Raiders fan. So
okay.
So yeah, it's again, I love a tortured franchise. That's kind of my thing. We've had glimmers of success in the past, and close encounters in the 2000s, the whole John Gruden of it all. But we're maintaining. I have no expectations of this upcoming season, so I'm just along for the ride.
Sometimes that's the best way to approach the season.
Yes, sir.
So once again, man, thank you so much for being a guest on here, man.
You know
what, Danny? Great time. What's up?
I'm sorry. I know you're trying to end.
Go ahead.
But I want to ask you a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you give me your top 5 battle rappers of all time?
Oh man, my top 5. You know what? And I was thinking here, I was in the shower. I was like, I should ask him some battle rap questions, and it just completely slipped past me. I tell you, well, I like to do favorites.
Okay, you can do favorites. It's fine. You don't have to rank
my 5 favorites are, man, I have to say, Rum Nitty is my favorite.
Yeah.
Then I'm gonna go Hollow.
The Didon?
Yeah. You already
not the other Didon, but the Didon?
You already snow.
All right. OwenClothing.com.
Let's see. Solo.
Okay.
And the thing is, I didn't know, I wasn't familiar with him until this year, but man, I can't get enough of it. He's so, his style is so goofy, man.
Yep.
Golly. Let's see.
It's been so many eras of battle rap.
It really has.
Because from the like the Smack DVD era, of course, like Murder Mook, and Jay Mills and all those guys. But then you take it to like the class after that, and that's where you get the Loaded Lux, the Hollow the Dons, the Iron Solomons, and this new like crop of battle rappers. I mean, the sport has become so kind of professionalized that like it's almost like wrestling a little bit, especially when it comes to URL. But there are so many guys with talent that are kind of paradigm shifters, if you will, right? Like they're a lot more unique styles now than there were back then. So you got punchers like Rum Nitty who will just every line just try to punch your head off. But then you have like anglers like T-Top who will shout out to Carolina, like he's a guy that can just create a scenario and rap to you about it for 3 rounds. So
and nobody says bitch better than T-Top.
Oh yeah, nah, not at all. Bitch. So yeah, like we're coming off of a Summer Madness that wasn't really the greatest event, but there were some great performances on there, and yeah, I know you love Hollow, so I was just curious if you had some other guys that you mess
with. Tay-Rock.
Yeah, I like Tay-Rock.
And just to be regionally biased, I'm gonna have to go with Swamp.
Yeah, go ahead with Swamp, man. Like Swamp's like the dirty little cousin that you root for to get his stuff together. You know what I'm saying? Like he had a little run there where he was choking, he wasn't coming, to the battles fully prepared, and but like at his peak, he could rap with the best of them. So shout out to Swamp. I like Swamp a lot. And there's another guy from South Carolina too. Kid Chaos.
Yeah, he's from Columbia.
Yeah, he's a pen. He could write. He could rap. So salute to the Carolina boys, man.
How about you? Who all
right? So from like the old school, like of course Lux. I like Murder Mook. And I'll take some from the mid tier. Charlie Clips. He's a goofball now, but like what he had one of those runs that was just, I mean, unbeatable, right? And even in like when Charlie Clips showed up, you knew you had to bring your best material, right? That's why a lot of people's best moments are against Charlie Clips, right? Like even Hollow, where he's like Charlie. Right? Like and then New Jersey Twerk, right? His Charlie bit me, like
I forgot about Twerk.
Yeah, like all these rappers' biggest moments, whether it's older school or new school, you got to see Charlie. So I can't not say Charlie. Tay-Rock, of course, I mean, I think he's more of like a really authentic, like you believe him to an extent, right? Like, and he's very aggressive, like he got a short temper, you know what I mean? And he raps that way. So salute to him. Rum Nitty, like him. He's an alien as self-described. And then I didn't expect that I was going to like Geechee Gotti because I wasn't a big fan of his style when he first got on, but he started to refine his skill a little bit. And he put himself in arguably Mount Rushmore territory. I mean, he's battled all the legends. You know what I mean? So I got to put Geechee in there, and then honorable mention A Ward. That white boy can rap.
Rebuttal game crazy.
Yeah. That white boy can rap. Everybody, Verb hating on him. A lot of people want to play the race angle with him, but like he just shows up and raps.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And he rebuttals way better than anybody that doesn't. You know what I mean. Like Charlie has some good rebuttals. DNA struggles through his rebuttals a little bit, but A Ward most times he's shooting about 95% with his rebuttals.
Yeah. Oh my God, I watched him. I rewatched it. That battle with him and Rum Nitty last weekend.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
probably my favorite battle of 2022.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
And as far as Geechee Gotti, I think
Yeah.
the first time I saw a battle of his when he battled DNA, and I
Mhm.
became a fan of him instantly just because of his sense of humor. When he told
Yep.
DNA, nigga, you look like your name Gary,
Yeah.
I would laugh.
That was the one. That was a joint in a barbershop, right? Like it was a small room joint,
Yeah.
right? Like it wasn't
Yeah.
a big stage. Yeah, I remember that. That was like one of them app only events.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, just his tagline, right? Like, that nigga, you's a bitch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everybody got a slogan nowadays. You know what I'm saying?
When it's
So yeah,
real, you could tell. You can
yeah,
see
you
it
can
in
see
their
it in
eyes.
his eyes. Yep. And another honorable mention to Arsenal. He's been getting his ass whooped lately, but he Mr. Disrespectful, and he's been doing it for a long time. So those are my favorite battle rappers for sure.
Shout out Arsenal,
I got too many to mention.
Dude, I'm peeping some of these new cats, man. You familiar with Appa?
Appa, he battles on the Riot, right? Like he battles on Geechee's League a lot, right?
Yeah.
I've heard of him. I haven't seen any of his battles though.
Yeah, I watched his battle with Rum Nitty today. Are you familiar with the Ruin Your Day?
Yeah. It's like a blog, right?
Yeah, well, they have a YouTube channel too, where like him is like the host of Avocado, and usually it's Ilmac, and sometimes it's Ilmac and Geechee Gotti.
You know what? I didn't mean to disrespect the KOTD boys either. They got some really dope rappers over there as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, excuse me. Yeah. I'm familiar with the setup though. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, God, disaster.
Yeah.
I want to like disaster so much, but man, it's like his shit is just like it's just shock value for me.
It is. It's the Howard Stern of battle rap.
I'm about to say it's like his shit is like cringe comedy. I can't sit through it.
Right. Exactly.
Especially when he was doing that shit at Summer Madness. I'm like, damn, this shit corny. This shit corny, man.
But see, he's not really good on the big stage though, right? Like he's traditionally not been good on the big stage. I think he's been, I think if Smack would have got him for like a volume, I think he would have been a little bit more impactful in that kind of setting.
Yeah.
Big stage, like nobody, because rappers have to change how they rap on the big stage versus in those small rooms.
True.
That's the thing that we learned in the pandemic is that a lot of those legends were coming in those small rooms and getting their asses whipped by some of these newer guys. That's how Real Sick kind of built his name.
Yep. You took the words right out of my mouth. Because
he was rapping better than a lot of you dudes. And he wasn't relying on like the performance and the antics that you would have to kind of put on, on a big stage. So I think, a lot of guys during the pandemic, during that caffeine era and that Ultimate Madness tournament era, like a lot of them were able to, get themselves on just by being able to rap well, you know what I mean, and talk to these,
Boy, that caffeine, I missed that pandemic caffeine era, man.
Mm-hmm. It was like an event every week.
And you didn't have to pay for it.
That's right.
I'm getting Summer Madness for free. Are you shitting me?
Yeah, but they cut them YouTube drops off. So, I was like the only, RBE was keeping the streets fed on YouTube, but
that's true.
I respect them brothers. I like what they do. I can't wait for that. A Ward and A Verb to drop because
me too.
It seemed like fireworks to me. So, that and I think Ill Will battled last week too. So I was a fan of his while he was on URL too. So he was from Michigan.
Yaktown.
He kind of disrespectful too. He real disrespectful actually. So.
I think him and Hollow's battle might be my favorite so far this year.
Have you seen him versus A Ward?
Well, Ill Will?
Mm-hmm.
No, I haven't.
Real good.
Okay.
Real good. Yeah, I think you'll enjoy that. Like, because it's both of them rebuttaling. I think that's the battle where A Ward, it was right after Deshaun Watson, and he rebutted. He said, "You get a suit. You get a suit. You get a suit." Deshaun Watson, like that was the punch. But yeah, he had some. That was a pretty good battle. For 3 rounds. So.
I left out Danny Myers.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Hey, look, man. Do you believe in the parallel universe?
I do.
Danny and Danny is like the yeoman of the battle rap world. You call him, say, "Hey, look, I got 500 for you to battle this nigga, 3 rounds, a minute and a half." He'll be on the next flight.
Yep.
Like Danny is probably the hardest working battler. Him and Dre Dennis are the hardest working battle rappers in this thing. And I think Danny got a unfair shake he choked against Real Sick. I thought that battle was built up to be a classic, and for Danny to choke in that moment, like, it was so disappointing. And I could tell the collective battle rap world was disappointed in him, but I also felt like he got a little bit more disrespected at that point that I really wasn't trying to go for. Because I mean, Danny is shown time and time again, he will pull up anywhere, battle anybody. He don't duck smoke. He battled K-Shine at his peak. He'll battle anybody at his peak. Lux got to see him. Lux got to stop running. Lux got to see him.
Yeah, you're right.
Lux is trying to battle. He's going to battle Rum Nitty, and I get why that battle makes sense. I think that's going to happen a little later this year. At least that's what they said at Summer Madness. But yeah, Lux got to see Danny though, at least one time.
I couldn't agree more.
Give me a one rounder at least.
Yeah, something.
Yep.
Man, so matter of fact, what's your favorite battle ever?
Dog, it might be Lux versus Calico. I mean, just the moments, like, and just everything that came out of it, right? Like the memes, look at him, emotional.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like everything that came out of that battle, even Calico Yellow was skinny dipping with 6 bitches. when they exposed him for being in that pool. I mean, I think that battle is probably my favorite. Honorable mention, probably Rum Nitty versus Iron Solomon. One of the more underrated battles. It just got to 1 million views like last year. So salute to the culture for getting that up there. But yeah, that probably will want to be my 2 of my favorite battles.
Nitty and Iron Solomon is my all-time favorite battle.
Yep. Salute to them boys.
Yeah. Oh, I was speaking of the skinny dipping. I watched the when Tay-Rock battled Calico, and he brought it up in that second round.
Okay, that's where that battle that's where that came from. Because didn't Tay-Rock commandeer the projector screen? I think they put the picture up in the background. So yeah, that was heavy done.
Yeah, he was like, you was skinny dipping with invisible bitches. Where are they? I said, where are the bitches?
Yep. That Tay-Rock temper.
Yep. Oh, yeah, man. So, man, again, man, thank you for being on. Thank you for taking me down that avenue, man.
Sorry to extend this by extra minutes, but yeah, I just had to get that in there.
Dog, I don't care, man. You know, I'm passionate about my battle rap and my baseball. So,
yes, sir.
You killed 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yes,
and
sir.
Thank you all for listening to At the Plate with Danny Foxworth. Make sure you like, download, subscribe, tell a friend. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel at Danny Foxworth 843, and you can find the video episodes of At the Plate and also Since We Last Spoke. And this has been another episode. And for Todd and myself, till next time, y'all be good.
Salute.
3 strikes.